Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Oil Analysis Essentials, Building a Foundation of Equipment Health Management. I'm Kristen Corcor with ALS Oil and Lubricants Inside Sales and Business Development Team, and I will be your host today. We are glad you could join us for this look into how you can leverage oil analysis as a tool for your routine maintenance plan. Before we get started, I'd like to go over how you can submit questions so you know how to participate in today's event. You will have the opportunity to submit questions by clicking on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. You may send in your questions at any time. We will collect these and address as many as possible during the Q&A session at the end. I would now like to introduce Harold Scarborough, Technical Manager for us here at ALS Oils and Lubricants. Welcome, Harold, and I will hand things over to you now.
Thank you, Kristen. Maintenance departments in all businesses apply one or more maintenance strategies when managing their equipment. These strategies all have their place depending on the job the equipment performs, but choosing the correct one is important to maximizing your efficiency. Not all strategies are created equal. Reactive maintenance is simply fixing something as soon as it breaks down. This is primarily what many businesses use and is the reason why maintenance costs can be so high. Expensive part orders, unplanned downtime, and undelivered targets can all stem from improperly monitoring your equipment. It can be useful, but only when it is relegated to low criticality, cheap to replace equipment. Preventative maintenance is doing maintenance on a time-based schedule without monitoring the equipment's condition. A good example would be getting your car's oil changed every 5,000 miles. People typically don't get their oil tested and just trust that the oil change is all they need to do. Like reactive maintenance, this strategy is not ideal for anything that will negatively impact the business if it fails. There are many unknowns that are not accounted for if you're not monitoring the internals of your equipment. Predictive maintenance is the next step up from preventative. This is where equipment condition is tracked using tools like oil analysis to stop failures before they occur. As problems develop, they will show up in the oil analysis and can be actioned before they cause serious damage, saving money on an averted failure. The unknowns that are invisible in the previous two maintenance strategies start to be revealed in this one. Finally, proactive maintenance is the most efficient strategy when it comes to managing a maintenance department. It is predictive maintenance with the added step of making sure that no equipment fails in the same way twice. This requires continuous equipment monitoring and flexible changes made to maintenance priorities to achieve the maximum effectiveness. For a majority of equipment, this is the stage that most maintenance departments want to reach. It'll provide the lowest maintenance cost with the least amount of downtime for equipment. In order to reach the goal of these predictive and proactive maintenance strategies, a business will need insight into the internal workings of their equipment. This is where oil analysis comes in. Oil analysis is simply the routine monitoring of equipment health, fluid performance, and contamination control. By monitoring these areas, maintenance departments can make repairs, part orders, fluid changes, and process improvements without major impacts to the daily operation of the business. Maintenance can be planned in advance, and actions can be taken to minimize common pitfalls of unexpected issues. Before we can start to discuss how you can utilize oil analysis in your maintenance program, it'd be best to explain a bit more in depth on what exactly oil analysis is looking for. This is typically broken up into three main categories: machine wear, contamination, and lubricant health. All machines experience wear throughout their lifetime. However, the severity of the wear can fluctuate depending on internal and external factors. Oil analysis will allow you to see these fluctuations and pinpoint the specific component that is experiencing them. For example, if you are monitoring the elemental wear levels and see a spike in copper, lead, and/or tin, it might signify a bearing is giving out. The unit can be taken out of service and a replacement bearing installed without a catastrophic failure halting production. Contamination is the most frequent cause of equipment failure. Oil analysis monitors the most common and destructive contaminants that can enter a lubrication system. Water, dirt, coolant, fuel, and more are all monitored, and you will be notified if any one of them are detected before they become a problem. Finally, Lubricant health monitoring is critical in understanding how your equipment is faring. Knowing how your lubricant is performing can give you insights into how long a drain interval can be, whether your system needs to be filtered, and whether the oil you selected is even performing as advertised. Now that we understand what oil analysis is looking for, we can take a look at some more specific ways it can help you. Firstly, we can go over some of the largest reasons that apply across all businesses. Like we discussed before, it can heavily reduce maintenance costs. If you know that maintenance will soon need to be performed, you can freely schedule it in advance without having to call in emergency overtime. Likewise, if parts can be ordered before a component fails, rush fees can be avoided. By analyzing your equipment, you will be able to make plans to minimize unnecessary expenditures. Similarly, by monitoring lubricant longevity, you can decide exactly how much lubricant to keep on hand. No more perfectly good oil being dumped or more oil than necessary being left to bake in the storage tank. That being said, maintenance is only as good as the maintenance team behind it. Oil analysis allows you to operate with the knowledge that you can monitor an entire team's performance by simply looking at changes in the sample results. By monitoring these results, lapses in maintenance records, missed oil changes, and poorly performed repairs can immediately be caught and accountability can be enforced. Inevitably, problems will arise, however, and knowing before they become catastrophic failures can stop a small expenditure from becoming a massive one. Knowing that a unit has a slight dirt ingression allows you to take action before that dirt has time to cause irreparable harm to the rest of the component. It can mean the difference between replacing an air induction system and rebuilding an entire engine. Now that we've gone over some of the basics, we can start to look at the more specific reasons a company might want to do oil condition monitoring. Every business has different needs and can get different benefits out of oil analysis. Asset owners, for example, can have some of their most important questions answered with oil analysis. How far can I run my oil, for example? This is a common question asset owners of all kinds have when discussing oil analysis. By trending and analyzing the condition of their oil at different drain intervals, it becomes possible to optimize the maximum useful life of the oil. This can be critical in scheduling oil drains and deciding how much oil to purchase. As everyone knows, no machine runs forever. Eventually all machines reach the end of their life, and understanding roughly how many more years you have until it fails can help you schedule a retirement time window to avoid an unfortunate failure while it's still in a critical position. Additionally, as stated before, contamination is the leading cause of early failure of all asset classes. Understanding what contaminants are commonly getting into your system can help you build out a maintenance strategy that factors those into the equation. Are you ingesting too much dirt at a dig site? Maybe an investment into a better filter might mitigate this issue. Is water a common contaminant in your indoor generators? Maybe dehumidifying the area might cut down on those ambient water ingestions. If you know there is a problem, you can build a solution. Finally, if you own an asset, you're more than likely going to want that asset to run as long as possible. By monitoring its health, contamination, and lubricant, you may be able to turn that 500,000-mile hauling truck into a 1.5 million-mile hauling truck. Similar to oils, when choosing an asset supplier, there can be vast differences in performance. For example, engine A might show increased levels of wear and overheating when compared to engine B at your desired drain interval. Being able to track what assets can handle, a procurement manager will have all the information they need to make an informed decision on which assets to buy. This can also be leveraged into asset resale value. Many fleet managers sell their assets after the warranty period is over, and the buying market can be competitive. No one wants to buy a lemon. Those assets are healthy with oil analysis results to back up your claims. They can be offered at a much higher price. Though to make sure you have that clean bill of health, maintenance teams need to do their part to identify problems and apply corrective actions. Monitoring large maintenance teams across multiple locations can be a time-consuming headache at the best of times. But if you have the data from oil analysis, it makes it easy to check if maintenance was performed and the proper procedures were followed. Since we're discussing fleet managers getting the most out of their assets, equipment dealers can also utilize oil analysis to better market their products. When selling equipment, it's best to know your machines inside and out, especially if they are going to be coming in for repairs. Oil analysis can shed light on which problems each individual unit model shows. If you know for a fact that model alpha shows a tendency to have high axle wear when put under heavier than normal loads, your part choices can reflect the reality of its operation. Oil analysis can also provide more indirect ways to help you manage your dealer's assets. Warranty claims are one such area that is of large concern. If oil analysis is required as part of warranty, this will provide ample evidence if a unit failed due to a manufacturing defect or because of a client's operation of said unit. All of this does come at a cost, though, and this is where many equipment dealers have decided to employ a kit resale. By purchasing kits in large quantities and reselling them to clients, many of the costs of oil analysis can be offset while still maintaining a proper record of the unit's health. Some have even built this into their warranty program to ensure that the units will be monitored and always well taken care of. At the end of the day, though, customer trust is one of the most important metrics for any asset dealer. Giving your customer peace of mind that their equipment will always be monitored, taken care of, and maintained quickly will always be a net benefit. Now that we've seen what oil analysis is and how it can help you, you might be considering starting up your own oil analysis program. There are a couple of steps that you need to be followed in order to do this correctly, however. 1, establish what your goal is. We have provided some questions to ask yourself and some benefits of oil analysis, but each company and its challenges are truly unique. Your goals may not align with the goals of others in your industry, so what you're trying to achieve will be critical in building out your program. 2, set up procedures and key performance indicators. You'll need to track your progress towards your goal and make sure that the backbone of your maintenance program is there before they can get the most out of a condition monitoring program. 3, provide training. Accurate oil analysis results require training to understand and training to take the samples properly. Integrating this training into your onboarding procedure will make sure that the results you receive are actually meaningful. 4, take corrective actions. Obviously, when you receive oil analysis results, you must follow up on the corrective actions. When a problem is pointed out as critical, if it is not actioned, a catastrophic failure can occur. And 5, monitor. Once set up, oil analysis programs can run smoothly, but that does not mean that you can put them on autopilot. There are many things to pay attention to, and feedback from clients is always helpful. Becoming integrated with your oil analysis provider allows them to meaningfully impact your business in a positive way. Since we've discussed how to set up an oil condition monitoring program, let's take a look at a success story from a maintenance program that has already been fully integrated with ALS's oil analysis service. This customer has already done the groundwork needed to create a successful maintenance program and had been sampling their backup power generators for several years. We knew what their units tended to look like analytically, so when a sample came in with a high concentration of iron, copper, chromium, aluminum, and silicon, it was immediately flagged. Our diagnostics team suggested a detailed inspection for dirt ingression to the system and to check the cylinders for wear. What the client found was a poorly positioned clamp that was allowing dirt into the system that caused irreversible damage to the cylinder kit. After the repairs, unfortunately, the cylinder kit could not be saved. However, because they acted quickly to repair the damage, the generator itself was spared. When discussing this near miss of the client, it was calculated that if they had not been performing analysis and had not seen the dirt ingression, the overall cost would have been upwards of $15,500. Compared to the approximately $4,000 cylinder kit, the overall savings of nearly $12,000 became clear. Remember, oil analysis may not help in every circumstance on every unit, but the value comes from the accidents you prevent with its utilization. I know we went over a lot today, and integrating your maintenance program may seem like a lot of work. Luckily, this is where ALS's team of customer experts come in. No matter where you are in your journey, we are available to help you reach your goal at building out a proactive maintenance strategy. Don't have a maintenance monitoring program at all? That's perfectly fine. Our team can help you with a current asset health checkup, review recent failures, provide training, and give you an idea for the pitfalls that are already occurring. Already have a successful maintenance program using oil analysis? No problem. We can help build out your program by offering consultation, analytically calculated wear limits, and provide advanced training to give your team the confidence to make educated decisions with the data that they have. So no matter if you're just starting out and want to start saving your units, or if you already have a successful program and want to maximize your return, ALS has you covered with our testing capabilities, customer experience, and support services. Thank you for your time today, and I'll throw it back to Kristen for the Q&A portion of the webinar.
Thank you, Harold, for all that valuable information. We are going to move on to the Q&A portion of our event. As a reminder, you can still submit questions by clicking the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Harold, along with our panel of ALS experts, are going to answer as many questions as we have time for right now. However, if we don't get to your question today, we will reach out directly to answer that question and any other questions you may have. Harold, I will hand things back over to you and our team of experts.
Right. So let me get the questions pulled up here. So we have a question, where do we find correct testing procedures? Example, how to take samples. These procedures we have on our website. You can reach out to our customer service team if you cannot find them. They should be pretty readily available. Again, if you don't see them, we have YouTube videos, flyers. We're working on some more single page notes that you can sort of put up in your maintenance area. So it's something that you don't have to read. It's not a blocky paragraph, and it's more something that you can just glance at and understand. How would you use TBN to calculate remaining oil life? So this one, TBN is, I always try to compare it a bit to a health points bar. If you've ever played a video game, it's sort of your remaining oil life. If the information is provided from your samples, say if you're sending in samples and you provide the time on oil, whether that be hours or miles, we can correlate this to TBN value. And this gives us sort of an accurate way to graph this out and provide a rough estimate of where these the eventual oil end of life is. There are several studies that I personally have done for clients. Usually what we'll do is select a number of units and monitor their TBN value over a shortened drain interval, their current drain interval, and a longer drain interval, just to kind of see how that value reacts to being extended out. Right. Can oil analysis detect if oil was exposed to excessive stray electrical current, for example, fluting? I might pass this one off to my colleague, Gary. I think he should be able to help better answer this.
Thanks for that, Harold. To be honest, I'm not aware of any particular technique that can show specifically that this is happening. However, unexplained changes in metals can indicate that this is happening. So, for example, if you see an increase in copper, and that's the metal you're most likely to see, copper is very reactive and is obviously conductive and tends to get involved when electrical discharge is occurring within the fluid. What you will tend to notice is the copper levels just rising unexplainably in the oil. You may see other metals going up with it as well. Lead is another common one. Iron is also another common one. So if you get unexplained increase in those metals, then you can suspect this is happening. And then you would need to use some sort of instrumentation to try and detect and measure this. So putting a conductance probe into the fluid, measuring are we seeing pulses and that type of thing occurring that would indicate that something is happening. And it would also depend on how that electric current is getting in. If it's something like a bad earth and you're just discharging through the engine rather than through the earth, those can be quite difficult to detect. Basically, the only thing that show it up is the unexplained rise in metals.
Thank you, Gary. But another one, do you have many customers using oil testing to extend gasoline engine oil drain intervals? And have they been able to extend oil drains with that knowledge from testing? To be honest, we don't have a ton of personal cars coming in for oil testing. That does not mean that we cannot do that. I do that for my personal car. It follows the same sort of procedure as doing it for a fleet or for a large any sort of engine. So if you are interested in that, please get in contact with us. I can help you build out sort of we'll call it a pilot project to determine what the best oil drain interval is for you. Is oxidation used more than TBN now to determine oil life? That is something that is occurring more often. In the past, TBN has been pretty much the gold standard for determining, how much life is left on an oil. This has slowly been changing over the years. TBN is a test that is a little more prone to human error and just a number of things slight variations can mess with the value. Oxidation is run on the FTIR. It's a very precise instrument. So it has a little bit more reproducibility, repeatability. It trends a little bit better. The only problem with oxidation is that we have to know what the oil looks like, what the base oxidation is, kind of how that oil changes. We do have a really good idea of what most major oil suppliers' oxidation sort of looks like. So this is becoming a more common thing throughout the industry.
I can add a little bit to that, if you like, Harold. I think what you will find is that this is happening particularly where low sulfur fuels are in use. So in the USA, we generally have less than 15 ppm sulfur in the fuel. And so sulfur acids are no longer the problem they used to be, just simply because they're not present. And so the oil's TBN is not being stressed. So now what is the next stress is oxidation is a common one. So that becomes more dominant. So we're definitely seeing this in the US market. But if we go across the border to Mexico, where you still can have high sulfur fuels running at 500 ppm, then TBN becomes important again. So it's all about where we are and how we're running the machine and what the machine has been exposed to as to which is the most important measure. But as a general rule, yes, oxidation is now more important than TBN.
Thank you, Gary. Got another one. We've been using ALS for many years. Our oil sample kits come in with a sheet of stickers for labeling the individual samples. We have found these stickers to be problematic at times, and I was wondering if an electronic copy, like a fillable PDF, is available, and if including a printed slip in the outer bottle with the inner sample bottle would be a problem for the lab. I might kick this one over to Roger and Quentin. They probably know this a little bit better than I do.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. This is something that we have been working on within ALS. We're working towards an electronic form, or as we call it within ALS right now, it's a digital sample information form. It still will require a label on the bottle, but the labels that we're working with moving forward are going to be labels that are pre-adhered to the bottle. They are a poly material, so they do not become stained by fluids or oils that get spilled on them. And what it'll allow you to do is scan a QR code that's on that bottle and allow you to then fill out information about that sample digitally and transfer that to the laboratory without needing to log into a system.
I could just add to Quentin's comment there. We at ALS have put a lot of work over the last few years into moving people from using paper sample submission to digital processes. There's so many benefits, particularly with regard to the quality and the quality of the data that we receive through the digital process. So for the individual that posed that question, we'll certainly reach out and give you other options for doing sample submission. And for your maintenance departments, it's all about making it easier to do that sample submission. And so we have many solutions there.
All right. Seems like we have one more. I have had some Series 60 engines keep showing a viscosity warning. We drain at 15,000 miles, 15 W40 clean tech oil used. So for this question, I guess it would depend. Viscosity warning could mean that the viscosity is too high or too low. It may not match what the baseline of the oil is. This probably would be a good one to reach out to myself about. If you shoot me this question via email, I can take a look at your account and your samples and get an idea of what exactly is happening. If it is too low, it could be that the potentially the viscosity improvers are wearing down too quickly, putting it down into the 1030 range, or you could not be getting the oil that you think you are. If it's getting too high, I would not expect it to be getting too high on 15,000 miles, especially if it's a diesel engine, but it could be a cause of overheating. Again, 15,000 miles, I don't think it's an overextended drain interval, but yeah, this would be a good question. Just shoot me over in an email and I can answer that directly.
Okay, we've come to the end. Thank you, Harold, Gary, Roger, and Quentin for answering all of the questions today. And thank you to everyone else for attending our webinar, Oil Essentials, Building a Foundation for Equipment Health Management. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to our team at o&l.sales@alsglobal.com. And if it's not for the sales team, we can go ahead and get that to the most appropriate person to help with your question. You will also receive a follow-up email with a link to view the recording of today's webinar. On behalf of ALS Oils and Lubricants and our presenter, Harold Scarborough, thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.